And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection, your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. It is important to remember that feeling distress, depression, fear, or anxiety is normal when learning to deal with a serious illness such as cancer. More research is noted on how a person's attitude might affect their cancer experience. We begin today's Open Connection with Peter Versteege.
Just prior to that, I had my regular colonoscopies, and the last colonoscopy that I was doing at that time was alarming. You know, the polyps, and it was precancerous, so I had several done those, and then he said, well, send me to Vancouver, and that surgeon took part out of my colon to remove the roots of the polyps. Here, you know, your doctor, your specialist, you remove the polyps, but can't remove the roots. You need special equipment and whatever and so forth. So I went to Vancouver, and a nice man did this, and then afterwards they got the results. Yeah, perfect, it is all removed, the roots are gone, and you know, no cancer. Good. So happy as can be, right? And then a few weeks later, I got trouble and a little lump in my neck, and I thought, that's no good. So I went to the emergency, because at that time I didn't have a family doctor. Went to the emergency and said, can you check that out, please? And then, well, this doctor checking in, I could tell, he said, ooh, you know, he got worried. He said, I hope it is not cancer. So we did all the, you know, the typical testing and so forth, and then an ENT specialist, two of them, one checking out everything in the throat and in the back of your throat, and another one was taking biopsies of them, because now you could see the mass was growing in my neck. So they took biopsies of the mass, and yeah, and then it showed you know, cancer cells. So yeah, you know, I'm sorry, you have cancer. And then went to Vancouver doing PET scans to find the primary location of the tumor. They could never find it, and so it was described, the cancer that I have, head, neck, or neck, head, neck cancer. And I had to go to Prince George, and first of all talking to radiation oncologist, medical oncologist, and then go and see a dentist, see if you could handle the treatment that they were planning. And yeah, so then they had all your prep work for radiation. They made a beautiful mask. So, and what that means is, yeah, you need the mask when they do the radiation, because it is, you know, your neck, you can't move. So they make sure you can't move. They bolt you to the table. But yeah, so how the question was, how do you process that all of a sudden you're diagnosed with cancer, and always having been very healthy, active, you know, and now you're facing cancer treatment, so you will be out of commission for a while. But I was always positive, you know. I said, no, I'm optimistic. I'll get the treatment, and so it was 7 weeks of daily radiation and then weekly chemo. And what was very nice about it was in Prince George, Gina and I, we stayed there for 7-8 weeks at the Cordoban Lodge that is right next door to the clinic. And that is really a home away from home. Very comfortable. You have a beautiful room. You have dining room and a recreation room. Everything is there, you know, very comfortable, and they really look after you. They, you know, you get 3 meals, you know, very well prepared, very nice. And you're with other cancer patients that are going through the same thing and are all in treatment.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. Chemotherapy not only kills fast-growing cancer cells, but also kills or slows the growth of healthy cells that grow and divide quickly. Examples are cells that line your mouth and intestines. Side effects often get better or go away after you have finished chemotherapy. Let us return to the conversation as Peter shares his chemotherapy experience.
It was quite an experience, and the treatment was the radiation. The oncologist had told me ahead of time. He said, "You're going to be in for a very rough ride." And I said, "Well, you know, if that's what it takes, then all right, we'll take it." And he was not kidding, you know. It was getting harder and harder. The hard part was it was very difficult, the swallowing, and that was getting harder and harder. And he had told me already, you know, we'll monitor it, of course, and we might get switched to liquid food, and then the next step would be feeding it directly into your stomach. And I said to Gina, there is no way. No. So it was getting hard, and I got some medication for it to help, you know. And initially, they call it Pink Lady. And what you do 20 minutes prior to a meal, you mix it, and then, you know, in the back of your throat. The first time I took that, I was just drinking it. So my whole mouth went numb, you know. So I told the nurse, she said, "No," she said, "you have to take it through a straw and then in the back of your throat." Oh, okay, well, that made a difference. But every day I would get up and take a shower, and then I was in the front of the mirror, and every day I told myself, "You can do this. Sure, you can do this." So, and then when it was getting harder and harder, and then it really had to become mind over matter, and then I switched from, instead of saying I can do it, I said I will do it. You know, and particularly those last few weeks, I will do this. I will do it. And so we got through that, and then got back home, and yeah, you have to recover from it. The big thing, yeah, it was slowly recovering, and things start to work again. Your taste buttons were, you know, gone, but that was coming back. That took a little while, but yeah. So your food started, you know, you could taste it again, so that was good. And you got your energy back. I wasn't, you know, that wobbly on my feet anymore, so I had my balance back. And then I got the oncologist phoning me, because I had to go again to Vancouver for another PET scan and see what the results were of the treatment. And yeah, he phoned me. He said, "I have no concerns." Okay, good. So I translate that into, I'm cured. It's gone. All right. So out you go, and and then it was 6 months later, I guess. I got problems with my neck again. Now, what had happened the first time when they took a biopsies of the mass and the lymph nodes, they hit the nerve. It did damage to the nerve, and that was painful. So I had trouble with laying down. I could only in one position. That was all right. And then with the treatment that I had, the pain was gone. So good. Obviously, it was the mass that was pressing on the nerve that had shrunk. So the nerve was free again. And but then the pain came back, and I thought, oh, it is the damaged nerve. Not putting together that the mass might have been growing again and pushing on that nerve.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. A chiropractor neck adjustment is a procedure that involves manually manipulating the neck to improve alignment and mobility. It can help with neck pain, headaches, stiffness, and poor posture. Let us return the conversation as Peter shares how he realized he had more than a stiff neck.
Loosening up because all the muscles went tight, and but then I said to my chiropractor, I said, no, there is something else going on. So back to ENT and checked things out, doing more biopsies and so forth. And then they said, well, it is, it's back. It is the mass that is putting the pressure. So again, doing a PET scan. And then the news was, well, now it had spread to my lungs. So the cancer had come back and it had come to the lungs. All right. Well, initially, of course, I was obviously very disappointed and upset about it because I was told I have no concerns. I would have liked it if the doctor had said, well, with head neck cancer, it tends to come back. And when I did my research, I found out actually that 50% of the cases are coming back in 6 months. Within 6 months, about 70% it comes back within a year, and over 80% it is coming back within 2 years. So if I had known those statistics, the moment it started to hurt again, I would have, asked for another PET scan right away. But anyway, that is hindsight. So then, we went to Kelowna at the lung center in Kelowna to take biopsies of my lungs. And and that came back too, those nodules, it is, it's cancer, and it's incurable. It is in your bloodstream, and Oh, all right, well, next step. What we're going to do. So I had to wait for the oncologist to, go through all it, and then got in touch with us. We had a Zoom meeting, and your cancer is incurable. There is no cure, and it's spreading. And the next time it will be, in your bones, and then your liver, and so forth. So she started talking about maybe prepare me for palliative care. I said, hmm? Yeah, well, your life expectancy is, maybe 3 to 6 months. And yeah, Gina, of course, very upset, but I said, no. I said, those are statistics. I'm not a statistic. I've been an exception all my life. Got me into a lot of trouble over the years, but still, So I said, well, but what about, that is without treatment, what about with treatment? And she said, well, yeah, chemo. I said, is it a possibility of immunotherapy? Well, I wasn't a candidate for that because of my history of colitis, and she said that would, the colitis, would be flare up again, and then you're in real trouble. So the only way is, only treatment available for you would be chemo. And then she was suggesting two types of chemo medication. I said, all right. I said, that's the way to go then, and ASAP, and we can do it here in Terrace, at the cancer clinic here in Terrace. And I said, and how will that enhance my life expectancy? Well, 10 to 16 months. And I said, well, if you say 16 months, there must be people that do much longer than 16 months. He said, yes, that is a very small percentage. And I said, I happen to be part of that small percentage, And I kept telling Gina too, I said, I'm optimistic because I don't feel that I have cancer. I feel, when I go in treatment and the side effects, I feel that. But when I get through those side effects, and usually, well, when we went into treatment, 6 cycles every 3 weeks, chemo, and then usually in the first week, 7 days, you're not feeling too good, but then you start to feel better again. So.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
You can learn to turn negative thinking into positive thinking. The process is simple, but it does take time and practice. Start by following one simple rule. Don't say anything to yourself that you wouldn't say to anyone else. Be gentle and encouraging with yourself. If a negative thought enters your mind, evaluate it rationally and respond with affirmations that is good about you. In this final segment of Open Connection, Peter shares his tips on mental health.
So I always say that, and I tell the doctors too, I said, I don't feel like I have cancer, So I always stay optimistic and positive. And every time, when I started to get a bit of the energy back, I get active, do things, go out, get my camera, go out, do my photography. And I have people coming to my studio and I do photo shoots, no matter how I feel, do it, So, and I really think what has been and still is a big help that helps me to deal with the cancer and get through particularly the treatments, because the treatments can be pretty harsh and you're in for a rough ride. But to me, power of love, Gina, all my friends, the support, my kids, the support that they give you, and that is a big help. And then yourself, my nature is of being very positive always, and so positive thinking. positive thinking and being optimistic, that really is, to me, are the two big things that get you through this. And I've seen other cancer patients in Prince George, in the clinic and at the lodge. I've seen them here at the cancer clinic and during treatment. And you can tell some of them that you're not going to make it. Big giveaway is the attitude. Is they're down on themselves, and that is not helping. You have to stay positive. You have to believe in it, that you'll get through it. And right now, what I'm saying too, I finished my chemo, the last one here, and I'm saying that I will be around for a long time. It is in my nature to be positive. I've always been that way, and of course that helps me now to stay positive. If someone that has cancer and is not entirely positive about a positive outcome or desired outcome, and what can you tell them? What can you tell them? How can you change that to no, don't be down on yourself. You'll get through it. It is usually when they're in treatment and you have a rough time, and then you're thinking, well, why should I go through this? There are quite a few people, and I've known several that are saying, I don't need this. You know what? Forget about it. And yes, I'm telling Gina too, I said, everything has an end. I'm no exception. But to me, yes, I'm no exception, but it still will take a long time before that is going to happen. But if someone has given up, I don't know what you can tell them. I don't know. Maybe it is if they have given up and they feel they don't need it anymore, then maybe that is the best way. If you don't want to suffer and get through that, because you do suffer, but to keep your eye on, but that will come to an end, that suffering, the rough time. It will only get better.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.